Have you heard the myth that reaching true fluency in a new language after your teens is nearly impossible? Researchers have long debated why it feels harder to master a new language as an adult. And if you read the literature on this topic, you'll find two recurring hypotheses. The first is that it's easier for children to acquire their first language because their brains are different than adults' brains. The second hypothesis is that adults find it more difficult to learn a second language because the context in which they're learning is extremely different than children learning their first language. And there's some very recent research exploring the science behind this question that supports the second hypothesis. And this is actually great news for those using VR to learn a language. See, early studies tried to map language in the brain by looking at the brains of individuals engaged in language tasks without a connection to social situations. In 2021, Zhang and his colleagues published an experiment they conducted in which they scanned the brains of people learning foreign vocabulary words in two ways. First, by being given translations, and secondly, by having participants learn them by guessing their meaning from social situations. What they found was that social learning contexts activated more extensive networks. And when you compare the images from the brain scans, you can actually see how their brain lights up. This had a practical impact on learners. Those who learned via social context were able to recall the newly learned words more quickly and were able to apply them to new, real-world contexts than the group who had learned via the translation method. As a result of their study, they recommend that we approach language learning in a way that is grounded in social interaction. And they go on to define social interaction as learning through real-life or simulated real-life environments, where learners can interact with objects and people, perform action, and use their senses. And this sounds a lot like immerse. Let me give you a few examples of how language immersion in Immerse is grounded in social interaction. When members learn a language in Immerse, they do so in a community of learners. Whether it be a lesson, small group conversation practice, or the more casual connections in our social lounge, social communication is central to all of the experiences members have. Secondly, object interaction is a key component of experiences. Whether members are cooking in the kitchen, building a raft on a deserted island, or creating works of art in the art studio, they build fluency while performing real-life actions and interacting with the objects around them. Finally, Immerse capitalizes on the audio and visual sensory inputs through the use of headsets, which physically disconnect users from their surroundings. With the sights, sounds, social connections, and object interactivity combined, members are able to have highly engaging experiences that really make them feel like they're having class on the beach or in someone's backyard. It's easy to see why virtual reality has become the optimal tool to create learning experiences that mimic how language is learned naturally by children.